Hello and welcome back. If you've been following along, I appreciate your watching. And if you're new to my channel, guess what? So am I. I'm brand new to junk journaling and paper craft and all this kind of thing. And so I decided to start this channel because I have a Facebook page where I share kind of what I'm working on every day. And prior to taking up this new hobby, I work on mostly jewelry. So a lot of my followers that on my Facebook page also like doing crafting kind of things. So I started sharing on that page, and I know I have a few people that have now gotten hooked too and are following along. So basically what I like to do is share whatever I'm working on because I'm learning, and any kind of new tools and products and things that I find. I'm not paid by anybody by any stretch to advertise, but I'm just sharing the things that I have found and that I like to work with. So today what I wanted to do is I had started a bullet journal that I was getting kind of behind on as I've been working on other things. And I just wanted to catch up on a couple of pages that I've done so that you can kind of get some ideas. And then also I'll do a tutorial on making these little mini notepads with some decorative stitches because of a nice little tool that I found. So to get started here, this is the journal that I had been working on, and I kind of decided to do this combo post today because somebody had asked a question about this particular book, and then I've used the notepads in it, and so I thought this would be a good way to kind of mash up the two. So the question that I had when I first started this book and was showing it, I hadn't finished the outside cover. It was falling apart, and I had not done the inside and back, front and back covers. But I showed those on my Facebook page just as a little tease. Here's what I worked on today. And somebody asked, oh, how did you do that? So you're going to laugh when you find out. But basically, I hadn't finished it because I was waiting for some fabric tape, some bookbinding tape. And this one is from gafferpower.com. And it comes in white, too. It may come in other colors, but I just ordered the black. It's kind of like, it's a cloth tape. But it's nice and heavy duty for repairing books. So I had been waiting for that. So what I did, just to do a maybe not the prettiest repair, but this is my own book. The whole spine was falling apart inside and out, and I had already started doing these pages. So then they were kind of pulling away. So I just got a piece of the tape, and it may come wider. I think it comes narrower, and this one is almost 2 inches. So it would, if you want to cover this whole area, I would get a wider tape if they have it, but I'll have to check and see. So what I did though, because that's the size, first time I bought it, so I just bought that size, I went ahead and I put a strip on either side that overlaps the back a little bit, so it's, and got it in that crease. And then just to do one across the whole back because it didn't cover my whole spine, I just put one strip and it happened to fit right into that crease, so you don't really notice it. So it's fine for my own book. And then I put a strip on the inside too because, like I said, it was falling apart there. And then this paper is just a cardstock, heavy cardstock paper that's just, you know, like a collage of different newsprint and stuff. So I just did that on the inside pages. But the funny thing was, I think what she was really interested in was this. And you're going to laugh, but I had just been working on this very colorful page. And this was in the tutorial that is the Crazy Quilt from a magazine. So you might check that out if you like, you know, crazy quilt ideas. That's a previous video. But I had just been working on that, and I really liked all the color. So I was kind of in that mood, and I'm kind of, my favorite color is the rainbow, and I'm kind of more dark, moody colors than I am pastels. So I decided, because it's my own book, I really wanted to do that on the cover. And I'm also kind of very much, I don't throw any scrap away. Even when I was sewing, I would do these pillows and stuff with kind of all in these colors, using all my scraps. So this kind of really, if you know me and know my history, this is really kind of reflects my whole kind of aesthetic. But anyway, so this is actually the cover from a Tim Holtz paper pack that I had bought. And obviously I don't have the covers anymore because I've used them. But I loved all these papers, and they're double-sided, they're 8x8, and they're nice heavyweight cardstock, and they're great for backgrounds. So I will put the link, because I'll have to find it again. It didn't really even have a name. It's just Tim Holtz Ideology Paper Stash, and they're the 8x8 papers. So I don't know, I didn't really see like a name of a certain pattern or anything. But I will put that link on there. And then, so what I used for this one was I just tore that label off. And so I have a torn edge, and then I used my Distress Oxide Vintage Photo and just distressed around the edges and then glued it on. And then I had this library card thing that's kind of pre-made ones. I've had them forever. They came in a little kit that had an actual date stamp and these cards. So I just used it for the front because it's a book. I thought it'd be cute. So that's that one. And then the back, which I think she was really interested in because of the way the graphic looked, is this is the back cover of the paper pad. And what they did was they were just showing you the fronts and the backs of each paper in the pad. But you could actually make that if you wanted. You could get something that was neutral for the background and then cut like little 1-inch squares of your papers and then just glue them on and make your own little graphic. So, yeah, I mean, it's something you can do for yourself if you like that idea, but it is cute, and I just thought it was funny that she wanted to know how I did that. So that's it. That's my big secret. So the page that I had left on, basically I had started this bullet, I call it a bullet journal for myself, and basically it is, I started in September. It's kind of a planner calendar kind of thing and a place for me to stash things. I wasn't sure what I would use it for in the beginning, and it's turning into a place for me to stash like little ideas. I try to make miniature ones of different envelopes or pullouts or things, and then I just keep them tucked in here, and that way when I need some inspiration I can come back and say, oh yeah, that would be cute in that journal I'm working on. So I did a monthly calendar. I went and found a little quote for the month of September. September was, you know, sunflower. So I started there, and I've kind of shown this already, but the page that I last ended on was this one, and I had started, this was last week. So last week, I don't know where you live, but we have been very smoky here. In fact, we're just starting to see blue sky again, and I went out walking this morning. It was wonderful. But my voice has been kind of raspy for a week now because of all this smoke. So anyway, that was kind of my theme for this page, and I'll just show you the products that I used here real quick. So basically this was another paper from the Tim Holtz, because we're having so many fires in the adjoining states that we're getting all the smoke here. And so this big piece of paper was actually this one. This is all I have left, but it just looked like fire and smoke to me. So I took the paper, and I didn't want to just leave it plain, so I actually did a little stamping around the edges with some ground espresso archival ink by Ranger. And then I had thought, I've been buying all kinds of things that kind of fit, I think, what my style is going to be. I'm kind of still figuring out what that is since I'm so new to this, but I love Tim Holtz products, and I used this stamp that just kind of like looks like grunge, and I just randomly did it around the edges just to kind of give the paper another layer. And then this little belly band, that's another new term. I promised I would share whenever I learned new terms and new things, I would share what those are so that you can learn right along with me. But they call, if you don't want to do a pocket and you want to do just something to hold something, then you can do a belly band. This is kind of a narrow one, but I was just using a little scrap that I had already trimmed off, so that kind of dictated my size. Plus, I didn't want to cover up all that beautiful paper because it just kind of fit my thing. In fact, if you know my area, this kind of reminds me of what Silver Lake would look like if it was on fire. There's actually kind of a little island out there with trees. But anyway, so I used that, was the back side of the paper, and you can see that the color of it looks a lot different than the original paper, and that's because I used this Distress Oxide Vintage Photo. And if you're new to this, you'll see, you know, people have like aged looking around the edges and that kind of thing. It's because they're using some kind of little dauber. You could use a makeup sponge, but these are great. They actually peel off with Velcro, and so you can replace them. So if you're using a different color, but you can also wash these and then reuse them. And this brand, there's so many brands. This is like Brea Reese is the brand, but Tim Holtz has them. They're everywhere. And then you can get like the little refill things, and they come, like this one came with sponges, but I really like this kind of makeup pad one. And then they also have this this one that is like really kind of like a scrubby sponge maybe, and I haven't tried that one, but that one might be neat to get an actual texture on, you know, if you're using paint or something. Tim Holtz has a great video that he does himself that explains the difference between Distress Oxide and the Distress Ink. I recommend watching that. I'll try to find the link and put it on the description for you, but it really helps explain these things because they are different. Basically, the oxide has pigment in it, more pigment than the ink does. So he goes through a nice demonstration how to put it on properly and that kind of thing. So that would be helpful. So once I did that stamping, and then I have a stamp that's a tree stamp that I can't remember. It came in like a kit that was the alcohol inks. There was like a little kit of stamps, and the tree was in that. And then these little numbers on here are from, I don't even know what they call these, but they're like little rub-on things. They come on like a little vellum that's sticky backed. So you just cut out whichever little one you want, and then you can use like a popsicle stick or a bone folder if you have it, and you just rub that, and it rubs right onto the item. So it's just subtle. I liked using the numbers because we did have a fire really close to us, and it was called the Numbers Fire. So that was kind of meant something for me. And then in my belly band, I put another little strip. That is just a scrap from this graph paper that I had used on this side. I just did that, used my Distress, and then that's the numbers in that one are another little stamp off of the same Tim Holtz from Stampers Anonymous. This little one I used for that. And you can, you know, my strip is narrower than this stamp, so that was okay. I just put it on this little strip on another piece of paper and then stamped on it. And so it's, you know, kind of look at things like you don't have to use the whole stamp on your paper or vice versa. So just kind of let your imagination go and kind of try to look at things different. Then to attach it, I did put a little glue there, but I just used these tiny brads. You can't see the other side because I've already put a piece of paper, but I did all of this before I attached it to my book. So I basically had my piece of cardstock, I did my stamping, and then I added the belly band and put the brads on first. So to put those on, I just used, I have one of these little tiny, this one, I don't even know, it's tiny, it's like probably 2 millimeter or something, punch, and just made a small enough hole. And these little brads I like, they're Tim Holtz and they're tiny ones. They have a little cross mark on them, and some of them are just straight so that they look like a screw head. So I kind of like that. And then this little button is just like a cardboard cutout thing that are called these Mombi sticks. I've had these for a long time. I probably got them at Michael's, so I don't know if they're still available or not, but they are just ones that have little sayings on them. And even these, you can kind of see it's not as white. I used my Distress oxide on those just to kind of knock down the white. So that was that page. And for that, to do some little tucks, I made this little notepad, and I'll show you this a little bit more when I do the little tutorial about making different notepad ideas. But I just used the same paper, and then I stamped the same tree stamp at the bottom and used my Distress stuff. I used the same graph paper, and I aged the edges of all those that I did on the other page here. But I'll go into kind of how the top was done in a minute here. So that's that one. And then I had, I put this in another video. I had just gotten this new punch that I really like that makes tags any length that you want. And when I bought it, I didn't know how it would work, but I thought, how did they do that? But now that I've used it, it's kind of neat. You can do 3 different widths, and this is the punch. I got it at Hobby Lobby, so I don't know the brand. It's whatever they carry there. And what it does is you cut your material. This one's 2.5 inches is the widest, and there's kind of little step ridges there that you can see. So you just put your material however wide it is and punch. And I've reinforced it with these little reinforcements I made out of craft paper, but it kind of does a little scoring ring around there, so it is kind of decorative even if you don't use that. And again, this was just another stamp that was on the same kit with the tree stamp on that. So just a little tag. And then if you want to do the 2-inch, this one's a little narrow, and you can see what it does is it basically cuts off that edge. So you just put your 2-inch material in there and punch it. And then I did one a little longer just to show you can do them as long as you want. This is the 1.5 inch. So it does 3 different sizes. So I did this just to remind myself about this punch in case, you know how that goes. It ends up in a drawer somewhere and you forget you have it, and then you haven't used it in a while. So that goes there. And then I've started my page for next week, this week. And now that the skies are blue, I decided it needed to be brighter colors to kind of make me happy again here. And this was just another one of the pieces of cardstock from that 8x8 Tim Holtz pack that I just got. And I just love it. I liked how you could see a little bit of the graphic here. And on the back it had some words. I knew I didn't need this long of a piece, so I went ahead and cut that off and decided to use it as a band. And then I just basically folded that over for my pocket. And then I've been really getting into stitching everything with my sewing machine, and I just use the cheapest Singer machine that they had at Walmart. I have a really good sewing machine for fabric, but I didn't want to use it for my craft paper, so I just got one that has, you just want one that has a straight stitch and a zigzag. This also had this other little decorative stitch on it, so between the zigzag, this one, and the straight stitch, those are pretty much the 3 that I use all the time. So I folded it over, and before I attached it to my book, I did my stitching and all that. And part of why I wanted to do this little experiment was I'm working on a commission book that I want to add pages in, and my book's already bound. I'm using a recycled book, just like this is a recycled book, but I wanted to add some pages. So I did this experiment, just taping one in, and then I'll put another piece of paper. Imagine this is another that I glued down over it. So I think that'll work, but we'll see. That way you can use any kind of tape. I used some decorative washi tape, and this tape I liked that the colors kind of blended in, but it wasn't wide enough. It's really narrow. So I ended up just stacking pieces of it. And washi tape is really more decorative than structural, so I just used some glue on top of just its own tackiness to keep it glued down better. But I think once I put that other piece of paper, it'll be fine. And then so this is a pocket, and then this is kind of a little belly band for another notepad. And these little butterflies, they were just part of this piece of decorative cardstock that I used for these cards. And another new term, if you're new, is fussy cutting. So anytime you're kind of using tiny scissors and cutting around something like that, it's called fussy cutting. And so I just fussy cut this little glittery butterfly that was already there. And I've done this more than once now, and I kind of like it. I think I did it on one of these other pages. Yeah, this flower, where I overhang the embellishment onto 2 different parts, so that you just kind of see it and it kind of just hangs out there. But I just kind of think that looked cute. And then just a little card to write on. And my little notepad, I'll leave that out so I can show it in my demo. And then just another little one. And I like to put little lines on the back so you can write on it. So that's where I've left off on my bullet journal. And showed you a few new products there. But what I want to show how to do today are to make these little cute notepads. I have these 2. I had another one somewhere. I think it went in a gift that I did, and it's already gone bye-bye. But what I did was I had, oh no, I know, it's here. Okay, so I did 3 different stitches. So I had shown this in a previous video also about this bookbinding kit. So this brand that I have found that I really like is called We Are Memory Keepers, and they have their own standalone website that you can go to. I'll put a link in there. They have all kinds of products, but I didn't know that originally. I think I ordered my first thing off of scrapbook.com was this, and I love this. It's a corner punch. I ordered that, and then I noticed recently I went to Michael's and they carry a few things in that brand also. But you know, once you kind of find a brand that you trust the quality of it, it's kind of nice. So now I go to their direct website and find all kinds of stuff. And I found this. It is a bookbinding kit. So it wasn't cheap. It was, I think, around $25. But it's worth it if you're going to do a lot of this because it just makes life so much easier. And it came with the little guide and then the little felt pouch for your things. And then it came with this little booklet that's not extensive, but basically it teaches you the very simple saddle stitch and these kind of things that you'd use for signatures. And let's see, someone recently asked what a signature is, and I've now given that book away as a gift. So I will use this one to show you. So basically, if you fold a piece of paper in half, then that is called a folio. Find the middle here of a signature. Okay. So if this was my piece of paper, come on. This was my piece of paper and I folded it in half, and it's called a folio. And then I took 3 folios and I stacked them together. And this can be any number that you choose. I just chose 3 for this one. You put those together and that's called a signature. And then you put all your signatures together to make a book. So that's just the language that is used. And I thought I'd share that because some people are new. So this one, that when I made this art journal, I did it before I really bought anything to learn how to do this. I just got this off a video, how to. And so I kind of just did a little stitch here. I did these just by making my own template, and you can do that too. You don't need this little special tool, but if you have it, it's easy. It's handy. This book obviously would have been too big to fit in there anyway. So for the notepads, I had wanted to practice some little stitches, and this kind of this little booklet, it went through the simple ones and kind of got you started. I didn't see instructions for these complicated ones, but they give you the template for these Japanese bound sewing, they call it. But you can kind of figure it out. They showed you an easy one, and from there you realized, you know, kind of the stitch isn't finished till you've done the whole thing kind of deal. So once you kind of figure out how it works, then these are a little more complicated, but you get the idea. So you just practice, and that's all I did. I didn't watch a video or anything, so it's not that hard. Anyway, so this is your little tool, and then it comes with the little punchy tool that's really nice and sharp, and you're just basically going to go through the holes. And then it comes with some little wax thread that's really nice. But I used this on the book that I just gave away, and it really is nice to get bookbinding thread. So I'm sure it comes in colors. I'll just have to go find some, but it is really sturdy. It's almost like dental floss, only thicker. So you could actually use dental floss. The other thing that I do use, though, that I was using before I got this kit was just regular upholstery or button thread, which is a thicker thread than your normal thread, than your normal sewing thread. So I use that too. And then it came with a curved needle that I haven't used yet, but I'm sure it'll be handy. And then I had needles that I already had. Oh, where'd the binding needle go? It should be on here. Oh, uh-oh. I don't want to have lost that because that's a really good needle. It came with a needle that is has a real dull end to it. And I've lost it somewhere. But you can use just your regular needles that you can get at in the sewing department anywhere. But this one's a little sharper. I'll have to use this one though, because now I don't know what I have lost my little needle. And this is not it. I stuck this one in here. It's another one of the sharp ones. But anyway, oh well. Oh, here it is. It fell on the floor. But this one, I like it because it's bigger around, has a nice big eye, but it's not as sharp, so you're not going to hurt yourself if you poke yourself. So that's what came in the kit. And then to make the actual pad, I started with this one, and I ended up coming up with it was an original idea for me. Someone out there in the world has probably thought of it, but I thought I came up with it for myself, is to perforate your page pads. And I hadn't done this one ahead of time, but I did do these ahead of time. So basically I take my papers and then I go through my sewing machine and I just stitch across here and it makes the paper perforated. I'm not going to do this one because I don't want to take the time while I've got my video going, but here's one that I already did. And I did this one with no thread in my machine. And so you can take the thread out and then just do it and it perforates your pages. This one I've already kind of started tearing. This one I did go ahead and sew it in. You can't really see, but there's thread in that one. So I just sewed it with the thread. So you can do it either way. Then this one I had already bound and I hadn't done that. So you can still do this. You can get a towel or something. I have this little pad out of my butcher box that comes in my packing material. And it's perfect for something like this. So it gives you a place to poke your pin through, and I just use one of these big pins. And you just, like in this one, I just went along the graph paper and I just poked a hole through in a row. So you can do that and make it perforated too. So I just keep that little thing with my kit. So for this one that I had made before I thought up all these ideas, I just tore the edge. And so next time I would tear the edge a little bit lower and do my perforation lower because my stitching takes up, a certain amount of space. And I kind of did all that first before I decided I was going to do this decorative stitch. So this was the first one I did, and you can see that I did not do it right because you should end where you started. And like I said, you have to do the whole thing to complete the pattern, and then you would have your two ends to tie together. And the pattern should be the same on the front and the back, and it's not. So this is my first try that I did not do well, and that's okay. This one is going to be in my own book, and that's why I put it there. Now, then I'm doing a book for someone else, so I tried another one, and see, this one did come out. Now, this one, when I did it, I started at one side, and I ended up back there and tied my knot. The third one that I did, I finally decided to look at the instructions, and it said had me start in the middle. So I don't know if I haven't tried starting in the middle with these, but I'm guessing that would work too. I guess it just depends on where you want your knot. But anyway, live and learn. So this was the one I'm going to show today because it's a real easy one. And then this is, again, another thing that I figured out that I should do when I make my pads to make them more professional, is I took my two covers. So this is just cardstock. And then this is just a little paper pad that it was actually like an already lined notepad. I just bought this at Marshall's Marshall's, because they're cheap. It was like $4. And you had all this paper. And so I just cut them to the size I want. But you could use anything. I've used one of them. This is just some coffee stained paper, lined paper. I've used, like I did in the other one, a little graph paper. So just whatever scraps you have, actually, because they're small. So you figure out your paper, and then I would do my stitching just on this. So we're going to pretend that I did that. We're just going to pretend I have a line. That second line maybe is a good spot. Okay. So then I'm going to kind of figure out where, once I know that, I'm going to measure and see how far that is. So it's actually about a ½ inch. I'm going to make a score mark on my cover. And for that, I'm going to use just this little scoreboard. And this is just from Recollections. It's a little paper cutter, and it has a scoring tool in addition to the cutting tool, so I like that for little stuff like this. So I'm just going to find my 1/2 inch, and on this one, let's see, 1/2 inch is, I think this is, I never figure out the beginning of it, the way that this thing works. Let's see. Oops. If I want it to be, there's my 1/2 inch. And I want it to be there about. I'm sure there's a better way to do that, but I haven't figured it out. So here is a score mark at 1/2 inch. And the reason I do that is so that now my notepad, it'll open nice. So put that aside. Okay, so then I have everything stacked up how I want my notepad to be. And I like to put my pages kind of centered in there where I have a little bit of space. I don't mind if it's all the way to the top. I like to have a little bit of space at the bottom. So kind of just line up where I want it to be. And then a clip is nice here to hold it all together so it doesn't get falling apart while I'm punching my holes. So we'll do that. Okay, so then I get this little tool. Now, if I were doing the signatures that are just in the crease of a book, this little bit is kind of angled. I don't know if you can see that. Kind of like a little V. And this is like a little trough. So I would use this side, and you're punching your holes just down the center. And the reason they do that is because it's a book, so your paper's kind of in like this. But if you're going to do those decorative stitches like this, you do them and they're flat. So if you flip this over, this side is flat, and it'll hold all your pages in there. So I basically, because this is narrower than my thing, I'm just going to kind of put it in there. Let's see, for this one, it just has one row of holes. So I kind of need to line it up offset from here, because if I butt it all the way to the edge, these holes might be too high. It'll just make my stitch very short, which is fine. But I want to use this middle one, I think. So I'm just going to drop it down. And you just eyeball. I can kind of see where my little mark is, my score mark. So I'm just kind of eyeballing that. Now I want this one on there too, because I need to kind of see this direction. I want my holes centered. So that's not centered. So let's see. If I kind of go here, that looks pretty good. And just screw these down tight. So see, I've got this, there's holes that don't have a little circle around them, and then these have a little, so it kind of just lets you see where the different patterns are that you are looking at in this little book. You know, it'll say, if you want to do this pattern, you need to punch these holes. So that just kind of gives you, it's like a color guide. So I'm going to do, because I'm doing just this pattern and it's really just a row of holes straight across. Where's my little tool? I'm going to choose to do these holes here. So this little punchy tool just goes right straight through. It's really sharp. And it can go through all your pages. Now, if you have a thick pad, obviously it won't fit all the way through here, so you would just do them in little groups. So see, now I have all my holes, and that was quick, and I didn't have to measure anything. I'm notorious for eyeballing, so that's kind of a easier way to do it. Okay, and I think, well, I don't want to risk it not being long enough. So I'm going to take some thread. And before I was mentioning the little fussy cutting, these scissors I like to use for that. These are just little Fiskar scissors, and they kind of have a curved bit, and then it's really straight, but they come to a really nice sharp point that almost kind of crisscrosses each other, so you could get really tight in there. And then the other ones I like to use, which these are probably just cuticle scissors, I'm not sure, but they've been in my workshop forever, but they're curved, so you can get, it's when you're going around a circle, it makes it kind of nice, or even any kind of curve. And then the other thing is you can put them in either, you can flip them either direction. So say you're cutting out a butterfly, you go one way, and then you can actually flip the scissors but still be right-handed and do the other side. Just another little tip. So this one, I think I'm going to double my thread. And the only thing about doing that is you want to make sure that your holes are big enough, that you've made big enough holes. So you might want to go in a little bit further, because every one, if you double your thread, it's like 4 going through there, because you're going through and then back through again at least once, depending on the pattern. So for this one, they said start in the middle. Oh, there's no middle. Oh well. We're going to start off kind of to the middle. And you want to leave some hanging out so you can tie it. And then I'm going to go over the top. And just make sure you get both of your threads kind of together and tight. And then I'm going to go to the right. I guess I could take these off, it might make it easier. Okay, and then I'm going to come back up and over. Oops. Okay, now you'll notice I didn't go across there, but that's okay, because I'm going to go one way, and then by the time I come back around, I'll have covered everything. At least that's the goal. So always kind of look at your back side as you're doing it to make sure you're doing it, you know, so that your stitch is okay. And it's easy to go back if you make a mistake. So then I'm going to go to the side again. So see, I'm kind of alternating. And then I'll go back over the top. And then back to the side. Over the top again. Okay, and then I want to come, I could either start going back now, or I can come around the edge. I kind of like to go around the edge. Okay, and now I go across where I missed before. And same thing, I'm just going to go straight across. Okay. And then I'm going to go back in that hole again. And now I'm going to go the other direction. So this is if you want your tail, your knot to be in the middle. You could have it be off to one side though. I'll have to try one that way and see, but I think it should work. And then to the side. Oops. Over the top. Around the edge. Back in the one I had missed. And this too, if you wanted to do 2 or 3 threads, you could use them different colors, twist them, whatever. Just for, uh-oh. No, that's right. I didn't need to go in there. There. So that last one, I didn't need to go through there. I just need to tie it off there. So like I said, if you're going to do more than one thread, you could do in different colors, or you can do just a single thread. On the other ones, I did just a single thread. And then this one, I haven't, because I'm doing this little quick demo, I didn't antique my pad yet. So I will do that too. And I'll show you on this other one. I don't need that anymore. Okay, so there's another little decorative one, and just trim that off. So like I said, I haven't embellished this. Usually what I would do is if I'm going to decorate anything, I would do that first and then put the book together. This one, I actually used this afterwards because I didn't want my thread to be white. I had already done all of this. So you could even, you know, use your inking or whatever to just make your thread look old. Or you could dye the thread ahead of time. I've done that with, you know, just different string and stuff too. Just using my inks and spray them and then dry them and use them. But whatever works. So that's just a couple of different ones. Like I said, these are a little bit more involved, but they're, you know, they're not hard. You have basically 3 holes that are in like a V shape to get these other decorative stitches. So if you don't have the tool, don't want to buy the tool, you can probably find these patterns, but just start playing around, because all this are like a zigzag of holes. So it's 2 rows of holes and they alternate like little V kind of thing. So you can kind of even make up your own little stitches. So I hope you enjoyed that little video, and if you did, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll try to put in the descriptions all the little links and things that I mentioned so that you can find them too. And if you hit subscribe, you'll be able to be notified whenever I do another video, and then you won't miss out on anything. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.